Next up, we have the Recycle Right presentation by Tommy and Hema. They will be sharing their joint project on nudging the campus community to recycle right. Tommy is an industrial designer who have actually graduated from NUS's industrial design program and from the class of 2020. He is an opportunist in solving complex problems and with a human-centered approach to design meaningful and sustainable solutions. Hema is a Year 3 statistics student. She is part of the project team which implemented the Recycle Right project to better understand the contamination problem in recycling bins in NUS. We will be starting their segment with a short video clip of Recycling Right in NUS.
Hi, I'm Hema. Today, I'm going to talk about rubbish. Literally rubbish. You might never have noticed these recycling bins around, but they're all around campus to help you recycle. Have you ever wondered though, what is actually inside these bins? You might not know this, but I'm a stats student and also a pro dumpster diver. So we've been dumpster diving for over 3 months for many hours to understand the state of recycling on campus. Every day, cleaners would collect bags from recycling bins all around UTown and deposit them here. We then went through the bags and sorted every item in them. Cups like this with leftover liquid cannot be recycled as they are unsuitable for the recycling process. So they need to be rinsed before being thrown into the recycling bins. Same for this, but straws cannot be recycled too, so they shouldn't be in the recycling bins. Clean and rinsed items like this are what we want. This is really good. We wanted to know the number of non-recyclables and recyclables contaminated by food and liquid waste that were in the bins compared to the total number of items in the bins. This is what we call the contamination rate. This is an example of the waste composition that we find every day in the bins. The waste pie chart shows us that almost 45% of the contents of the recycling bins cannot be recycled. Most of the common contaminants that we find are food packaging, tissue papers, and half-filled drink cups. The food packaging and the half-filled drink cups end up contaminating the clean recyclables, which makes them hard to be recycled as well. While some of us throw in the wrong items into the recycling bins, a lot of others put in the effort to rinse and recycle right. So I hope more of us can pick up the good habit of recycling right so that our collective efforts don't go to waste. So let's all do our part and remember, rinse and recycle right. Thank you for watching the video. It's supposed to give everyone a better understanding of recycling on campus and to encourage people to recycle right. So today I'll be going through some of the possible solutions that we had implemented and the experiment in total, its results, the lessons we learned from the experiment, and what to expect for the future. So firstly, we had implemented the speed bumps, which are supposed to mimic speed bumps on actual roads to reduce the mindless throwing of rubbish into recycling bins, because that is what the students who designed the speed bumps thought was causing the contamination in recycling bins. Then we implemented the banners, which were supposed to provide a more explicit reminder to people to stop throwing wrong items into the bins. The banners were designed by Tommy, who will be speaking later. So the experiment was conducted over 3 periods on 2 groups. So the first period was when there were no interventions implemented. The second period was when the speed bumps were implemented in UTown, because that was our treatment group. And the banners were implemented last, and the banners were also implemented only in UTown. And the numbers you see are the number of data points we collected over the 3 periods at each location. So these are some of the common sites that we see in the recycling bins. You can see a lot of utensils, food waste, rubbish, basically, like drink cups, and even more rubbish, and even masks. So for our results, the only statistically significant result we got was a 14% reduction in metal contamination rates when the speed bumps were implemented. So you can see there was a dip there. So naturally, when there's something wrong, you want to know why. So a study was conducted by a group of engineering students who conducted a survey on people who used the recycling bins to find out what was why people made the recycling decisions that they made. And the most common answer was that the material of the item looked like plastic, or it felt plastic, so they threw it into the plastic bin. And this carried not just for plastic, but also for paper and metal bins as well, which shows that recycling is a pretty intuitive decision, which means that this is something we need to think about when we implement further interventions in the future or conduct future studies. So to move on to the lessons learned, firstly, we learned that the interventions need to be able to directly address issues to get their intended effects. Like, for example, actual speed bumps on the road, right? We see the speed bump and then we slow down. But then for recycling, people are already in the motion of recycling. So the speed bumps don't actually have the effect that they're supposed to have. And the same can be said for the banners because people are already in the motion of throwing the rubbish into the bins. So they can't stop and read everything one by one. At most, they catch one or two things and then that's about it. So that is something we need to consider next time when we come up with future interventions to address the issues exactly. Next, we need to make sure that we define exactly what we need to collect as data so that we get more insights. So during this study, there was a lot of difficulty with defining what exactly is considered empty. Is a few drops considered empty? Where do we draw the lines? What is acceptable, what is not? And things like that. And also, when the banners were implemented, there were particular items mentioned on the banners, but we couldn't collect the data for whether those particular items had a reduction in the bins or not, because there was a trade-off with time, because we cannot sit there and count there forever. So next time when future studies are held or conducted, or maybe when future interventions are implemented, there needs to be we should be able to prioritize what exactly we want so that we can get focused results for the intended effects that we want. And which made us think maybe we need a stronger intervention, like the speed bumps and the banners are all passive approaches to solving the problems, and maybe we need something that could disrupt the default and make it harder for people to throw the wrong things into the bins. And Tommy will be speaking more about this later. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody who helped me with the experiment, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Hema, for sharing how different experiments can be used to understand recycling contamination. I think you saw a pixelated image just now, and I think don't want to be in between you and the pixelated image. Tommy will actually be sharing a bit more about how he used user insights to create a new product to get people to recycle properly. Tommy, kick us off.
Thanks, Kelvin. So hi, everyone. My name is Tommy. And I'd like to thank you for joining us here today at this event. So today, I'll be sharing with you more about my personal takeaway of recycling right through better design. So a bit more about myself and how I started my zero-waste journey. So as an aspiring designer, I began to realize that whether I was going to end up designing more waste. And it was a personal challenge for me to design for more sustainable outcomes for more circular economy. And how this project started? So it was based on the recent reports of our current recycling rates, and also taking reference from the past works that was done by my peers. And I thought it was a good opportunity for me to continue the good work that was done in improving our zero waste efforts. What can I do to improve the recycling efforts? So bringing back to what the past interventions and the results showed, we learned that there was a knowledge gap in what can be recycled, which led to the misconceptions of what is accepted for recycling. It has to be clean. And also, not all the products has the chasing arrow, and not every number can be recycled. So this led me to the thought, how might we reduce this contamination rate by correcting misconceptions and nudge users to recycle right? Who are these users? I identify them as aspirational recyclers. So those that will continue recycling, why not design a better experience for them to recycle the right way? So moving on, I conducted interviews and surveys to understand the challenges that they face and what are the good experiences as well. So many of them brought up that there was an inconvenience of rinsing these recyclables, the lack of motivation to do it the right way. So I continued by testing out experiments at the recycling points. And there was a key observation of this individual that was standing in front of the recycling bins, and he was actually hesitant to recycle his contaminated bottle. So after a while, he decided to actually go to the washroom to actually rinse it. So when I interviewed him, he shared that he actually was nudged by the directional posters and the demarcations that led him to make this decision to recycle right. So from this, we realized that the key insight that was shown that the act of recycling right requires specific directions. So I wanted to understand more in depth of what the current experience is like. So I used the card sorting exercise, a user experience research technique, to uncover this. So I got participants to actually identify which icon or actual item imagery will help them sort their recyclables better. So this was to uncover the user's mental models to design better information architecture. So this was to address the direct issues of contamination to achieve the intended goal of getting clean recyclables. So we realized that through the numerous testing, that actually the actual items actually help them sort the correct items better. So users were able to identify the specific material type and the recycling quality, whereas the icons, they were basing assumptions on its silhouette, the item's silhouette. So what if we could actually exemplify the wrong items to highlight the contaminant issue? So I went through back to the drawing board and ideated and did prototypes again to refine the bin design according to what the insights that we gained to optimize these key features of the recycle right bin for more mindful and intuitive bin experience. So I present to you the recycle right bin. So this bin will be strategically co-located at public facilities that promote clean recycling at rinsing points. So this is to help users to actually it will help them facilitate clean recycling, as well as to educate those who are unsure, to teach them what are the wrong items and not to recycle those as well. So the bin has three main features: the items display, the slidable lid, and the transparent bin. So for the item display, this showcases the actual non-recyclables that should not be thrown in these bins. So this is a timely prompt for them to identify those actual items and before they decide to recycle or dispose them. And moving on, the slidable lid. It's a deliberate cutout that allows users to use the clean recyclables to swing open the lid and recycle them. So with the almost fully closed lid profile, this also reduces the mindless disposal of contaminants. And lastly, the transparent bin. This highlights the quality that the recyclable that should be recycled inside. So this also kind of shows people of what clean recyclables that have been recycled before them, so that they can follow suit in doing the right thing. So my personal takeaway is to fail now and succeed later. Why? Because without this iterative development process, through the testing and evaluation through dumpster diving, we would not have been able to uncover the user insights and based on their behaviors and habits throughout this process. And I would like to take this time to thank NUS Facilities Management and Estate Development, as well as my tutors from Division of Industrial Design, as well as my peers for their constant guidance and inputs throughout this process. This project was also not possible with the support from Southwest CDC and the bin production from Octo Waste, which I would like to introduce you now. This bin will be implemented here in NUS for its first trial and also subsequently in other public spaces such as shopping malls and community centers, as well as in schools. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tommy and Hema. Just to share, when I was just listening to your presentations, it reminded me of my own dumpster diving experiences in the recycling bins as well. It was really interesting. And also just to share, our participants have actually complimented you and told you guys, hey, great job in doing those studies, and as well as in designing this transparent bin. And a lot of them are also looking out for the bins to roll out. So good job, you guys. Maybe I would like to give a question to Tommy. Tommy, what do you think is the role of design in helping people to be more green?
I think for me, everything needs to be designed, and also to kind of, that's when design has to be, it's a key opportunity for us to integrate this to design for better, the most possible, the best user experience possible, and also to integrate them into living a more sustainable life by going green. Yep.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Next up, we have another speaker, our fifth speaker, Mr. Jonathan Howe. Jonathan is the founder of Sharetings, an initiative that aims to drive a sharing economy and reuse through the giving of pre-use and pre-loved items, He will be sharing his story of how he kick-started Sharetings and grew it to a vibrant digital community of 4,500 users on Telegram. And he'll be introducing to us something new as well. Jonathan, the time is yours.
Thank you, Kelvin. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonathan, and I'm really very excited and honored to be here today, sharing with you more about my project, Sharetings, and how exactly we can share more waste less with Sharetings. So my agenda today is really very simple. I'll be sharing more about myself, my growing up years, and how Sharetings was started, our key milestones, as well as our future plans. And above all this, what I also hope to achieve is that I'm able to inspire everyone out there to actually kickstart or initiate your own project, whether it is environmentally, socially, or community related. Now, so yeah, that's me. I'm actually a Year 3 business undergraduate from NTU, majoring in marketing. And unlike many of my peers, my hobbies or passion is pretty unique in the sense that I don't really like to play computer games, neither am I into those hipster stuff. But instead, I like to read articles about emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and blockchain. And above all this, I also enjoy using all this technology to solve real-world problems using my own way. And last but not least, I'm also the founder of Sharetings, which I'll be sharing more in details later. So yeah, maybe to make this session a little bit more interesting, I'll be sharing more about my life story because my friends have been telling me that my life story is pretty interesting. So yeah, actually I grew up in a low-income family and my parents wasn't really that educated. And in my primary school, my parents didn't really force me to study, they just encouraged me to try my best. And being a playful kid back then, I hated studying. In fact, I didn't even study for all of my exams, which also explains why my PSLE aggregate score was only like 157. And somewhat, one way or another, I managed to enroll into a normal academic stream in my secondary school. And I think I fared slightly better in my secondary school because I studied selectively, meaning to say subjects that I love, I will study. Subjects that I hated, I will usually not study. And somehow, I managed to score decently for my O-levels and I went on eventually to Ngee Polytechnic. And I would say that a polytechnic structure is really very different as compared to secondary school or even a primary school. And you know, back then, I didn't have anyone to guide me in terms of education path. So I was really very blurred back then. I didn't know what I wanted to do in future, and I just go with the flow. So that also explains why I had a cumulative GPA of 3.67 in my year 3. And in my year 3, I realized that I'm in trouble because my GPA of 3.67 is actually below the 10th percentile of my business course, a dream course that I wanted to enroll in NTU, SMU, and NUS. So then I realized that 2016 was actually a turning point for me because I really wanted to enroll into a business course in NTU, SMU, and NUS. So I tried to research, surf the net, also try to ask my friends, how can I enroll into university besides just having GPA itself? Then the most common answer would be go and volunteer, help out, build your non-academic portfolio, right? So in 2016, after I graduated from a polytechnic, I joined various volunteering organizations such as Team Lila, Youth Corps, Touch Home Care. And I think what is really important, or one of the biggest takeaway from volunteering is really the fact that you get to learn a lot of things that you wouldn't have learned in a classroom setting. And eventually, NTU shortlisted me for an interview, And I managed to perform well for the interview, which allows them to actually offer me a place in business course. So then I think the offer was definitely a turning point for me because I really wanted to make the fullest out of the opportunity that NTU given me as well as my university life. So in my national service days, I set a lot of goals, smart goals, achievable goals, and measurable goals. And I think what really matters to me is the fact that all of these goals are actually something that I really want to achieve before I graduate. And I think the process of achieving these goals actually mold me into a better person because I really get to do things that I wouldn't have done if I'm in another university. So yeah, maybe to put things into perspective, how I started Sharetings. So in 2018, when I was a full-time national serviceman, I was a pretty observant guy lah. So I would actually observe my environment, whether in camp, outside, or even in big organizations. And what I realized was the fact that big organizations do have a lot of waste. Food waste, general waste, you name it, they have it. So then I realized that why are they wasting so much items or food, right? Then in my first year of university in 2018/2019, I realized that after every semester ends, students actually throw away a lot of things when they move out of their residential hall. This is also the moment where I recognized that it is a problem and I really wanted to solve this issue that exists daily, not just in university, but also out there in the community. And this is also a moment where I started to kickstart my so-called ground-up initiative to actually validate this idea through a Telegram channel. And of course, recently we just launched our mobile application. So if you were to ask me how Sharetings was started, I would really say that it is really a mix of passion as well as determination to make this idea work because I know that this idea could potentially benefit a lot of people out there, especially low-income families, to get items for free. Yeah, so I think these two factors eventually motivated me to kickstart Sharetings. Now, you have heard me sharing about myself, my personal story, and sharing. So what exactly is Sharetings, right? So as the name suggests, Sharetings is really about sharing things. And essentially, we are actually a peer-to-peer e-marketplace that facilitates the giving and receiving of unwanted but reusable item, maximizing the use and useful life of that particular item. So digitalization has been the talk of the town, right? So what we really want to do is to make it convenient and intuitive for people to give away items through the Sharetings application at the tap of a button. Now, I'm also happy to announce that the development of Sharetings mobile application was completed early this month, August, and I would like to take this opportunity to encourage everybody out there, whether you are from NUS or non-NUS students, to download and try this application because it is really something that is very useful and can benefit a lot of people. And the impact that you make on that particular people that you donate the items to is really something that you cannot express it in words. So maybe I'll just give everybody 30 seconds to download this application. And I'll also share about my experience reflecting back 7 to 8 months ago when I started negotiating with the IT vendor. I could still remember that I downloaded over 20 to 30 applications, not only in Singapore, but also in US, in UK, in Australia, to actually craft and draft out the proposal for the features that I wanted this application to have. And it was really a memorable experience for me, given the fact that I actually materialized all of these features into a real-life application. Yeah, so moving on, our goals are really very simple. We have 4 key goals. Number 1, to help people. By helping people, I mean that I want to help people from the low-income family because having volunteered in those organizations, I realized that people, especially those living in rental flats, do not have the means to actually buy necessity items such as furniture, mattresses, or even clothing. And therefore, by having this platform, what we try to do, what we hope to achieve is really to help people to gain access digitally and, of course, to get items for free, right? And secondly, we want to create a convenient avenue for people to share away items, yeah? Because as a student myself, I do have a lot of items, and I believe that all of you out there do have a lot of unwanted items. And usually we will try to sell it away. If we can't sell it, we will most probably throw it away. So what we try to do, or what we hope to do, is really to create an additional avenue for people to share items. And by having this avenue, the chances of them sharing items would increase, which eventually translate to a reduction of them throwing away items. And this, in turn, in the long run, will translate to a reduction of carbon footprint. And thirdly, I want to create this, I want to hope to achieve a sharing economy in today's society because I believe that digitalization has unlocked a lot of hidden value and allowed a lot of industries to actually thrive. So what Sharetings is really about, or what what our goals are is really about creating this sharing economy where people can step forward to share. And I believe in the power of pooling, right? Pooling pooling or crowdsourcing has enabled a lot of people to actually share items as well as to sell items away. So in short, I think by creating a sharing economy, it would mean that I want to be the centralized platform that aggregate all the unwanted items in Singapore into one platform, which allow people to actually give, take, and share items for free. And last but not least, I also recognize the fact that there's actually a lack of such platforms in Singapore, especially e-sharing platforms. So what we aspire to do is really to be Singapore's leading e-sharing marketplace. All right, so maybe I'll just touch on the 4 key milestones that we have achieved over the past 18 months. And if you don't already know, before the mobile application was developed, we actually validated this idea through a mobile Telegram channel. So over the course of 18 months, I'm really very proud that 4.8K members actually joined this channel to share items. And out of these 4.8K members, they contributed over 51,000 items, of which the takeout rate was around 70 to 80%. Just imagine how many items that we managed to save through this simple yet impactful platform. So that was really something that I'm really proud of, even today as I speak. And of course, secondly, would be to have our own events, right? And I believe that online presence is not enough, which is why we we allocated some of our resources on offline events. So this is a very classic example. Early this year, we organized a Share More, Waste Less event with Choa Chu Kang Zone 6 RC. And in the course of 4 hours, I think over 400 residents came down to share their unwanted items. And I think what is more important is the fact that they actually know about us, they know about the channel, they know that what are some of the avenues they can actually onboard to actually share their items. And of course, another highlight would be getting media exposure. And to be honest, I'm actually quite a shy guy, yeah. When I was notified that Straits Times and CNA 938, which is a live radio station, wanted to interview me, I was really nervous and I couldn't sleep for nights, yeah. But I think that whatever that makes you uncomfortable is the biggest opportunity for growth, yeah. So I think overall, it is really a very good experience for me, and more importantly for Sharetings to gain some exposure. And of course, last but not least, the development of the mobile application was one of the biggest milestones that I've achieved over the course of 18 to 20 months. And I think some of the key features that differentiate the mobile application as compared to the Telegram channel is really the reward and leaderboard system that we put in place. And I wanted this feature to be integrated in the mobile application because I felt that it is really a mechanism to actually retain and attract users to share items. And we also have a community moderation artificial intelligence feature that we put in place to reduce manual intervention. So basically, there's this algorithm that we have integrated in our mobile application that will automatically take down any listing that violates our rules whenever the community reports it. And last but not least, I believe that by having a mobile application, by having some digital platform, we can actually extract meaningful, insightful data which can be used for further planning or even improvisation of the mobile application. Now, I will be sharing more about our launch plan. So we are planning to launch this mobile application in 4 phases. We are currently in first phase, which we have successfully migrated over 500 Telegram users onto our mobile application. And moving forward, we hope to launch this within communities as well, like the NUS or even Choa Chu Kang GRC. And on a longer term, say 5 to 7 months, we hope to roll this out district-wide, Southwest CDC, and more importantly, nationwide. And I would also like to take this chance to thank NEA, Call for Ideas Fund Team, as well as Southwest CDC Eco Fund Team for believing in me and trust that this young man can actually develop something. And maybe I will just share more about our future plans and what we really want, what we really envision ourselves over the next, say, 3 to 5 years. Firstly, we want to build an ecosystem where we connect partners with community, and that will mean that beyond an individual level, we hope that corporations or even companies with high level of wastage, such as defective products, can step forward and use our platform to do good. And secondly, we also want to expand team, and I believe that together we can do so much more. And even though I do have some ad hoc friends or volunteers that help out time and time, I think what is really important is to really reach out to the youth out there, because I believe that everybody have their own perspective, especially on the technological front. And I'm not a tech guy, yeah, so I can't really do everything by myself. So thirdly, as a data-driven individual, I believe that data is king, right? we can actually unlock a lot of hidden value or even identify trends or insights from big data sets. So moving forward, I will be extracting reports from the back end to analyze trends, to see whether there's any gaps that we can actually fill, and more importantly, to formulate strategies to better engage the community. And last but not least, the most important thing is to make this a sustainable model. We do not want to make this application just like a 1-year project or 2-year project, but instead, I think leveraging on technology, we can actually make this as long as possible if we really want to. So sustainable model would mean that we want to really create some value proposition and being able to retain our value proposition. And of course, last but not least, to able to value add to all of our users in future. So that is really something that we want to achieve over the next few years. And yeah, before I end my presentation, maybe I will just take this opportunity to share with everyone that we are actually open for collaboration. So whether you are from student organizations, agencies, or even corporates, if you feel that there are synergies that, or that we can actually do more together, feel free to contact me and I will be happy to share more with you. So maybe before I wrap my presentation, I will just take a few questions.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for sharing what Sharetings is about. Anyway, for the audience, if you have not downloaded the app from the Play Store or the App Store, go ahead and download Sharetings. I am actually one of the members of the Sharetings Telegram channel and I've managed to share my old biology textbooks with people who require them. So thank you so much, Jonathan, for making this possible.